Welcome. I'm here today to talk to you about the Mercury Retrograde that's happening in Aquarius, starting on the 31st of January and going all the way through until February the 21st. So it starts at 26 degrees of Aquarius and then it stations backwards and it goes retrograde all the way through to 11 degrees where it then stations direct. But of course we also have the shadow period. So all in all it's around 2 months and will probably last till about March the 13th. But before I go into that a little bit deeper, I will just mention that if you do enjoy our content, please do like and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you can get our regular updates. And then I also just want to mention that at the end of each of these readings, I always do a tarot spread exploring what that theme specifically means for us as the collective. All right, so I hope you have your charts ready. It's very useful to see where this retrograde will be falling in your chart, which house is ruled by Aquarius, because that is the house that is going to be under the impact of this retrograde, but not only the retrograde, but also the intense stellium that is happening in February in Aquarius. So there's a lot of mental energy going on here with this Mercury in Aquarius and going backwards. And a retrograde is a process. So Mercury, first of all, moves very fast. It's the fastest moving planet. And when it goes through a retrograde, it enters into the shadow period where it starts slowing down to stop and then start going retrograde. And so this period is really, really important because it allows us to review, to re-examine, to go over and explore our thought processes. So Mercury has to do with the mind, it has to do with the communication, it's the messenger, it's about movement. And when it's in Aquarius, Aquarius is, it's very much about forward thinking, it's about a higher perspective. It's about seeing things in new light. And I also feel that this Aquarius energy is about bringing information from the future, especially around the new moon. The new moon that is happening in February in Aquarius, in a way it's a portal to bring all of this information through from the future to us after we have gone through a period of review with the Mercury retrograde, where we can then start implementing these new thought processes. And so Mercury being in Aquarius, being in the sign of forward thinking and innovation and seeing things from a bigger picture, it also very much has to do with the spark of invention, of ideas that we almost seem to be impossible, and yet somehow they bring radical change with them. And a good example of this is some ideas around making computers communicate in the 80s that seemed ludicrous. And here today now we have the internet. And so it's that spark that doesn't necessarily have tangible understanding of it, but it's an idea that in a way comes from the future for us to work with. And so Mercury going backwards slows down, and it allows us to process possibly where it is that we are stuck, where it is that we're not open-minded or seeing a bigger picture. And so understanding what area of your chart it falls into will really allow you to understand that area that you're exploring and really getting to understand where you may possibly be needing change. And so what's really beautiful about this retrograde is that it's also coming into 3 conjunctions over the period with Jupiter. And so Jupiter is all about expansion, and it's about largeness. It's about bigger, and it amplifies. And Mercury is about communication, and it has to do with the internet and social media in Aquarius. And so when it comes into this conjunction with Jupiter, the first time it's when Mercury is going direct, and it actually happened on the 5th of the 11th and the 12th of January at 5 degrees. The second time it happens is when it's in retrograde at 13 degrees, and it's on the 14th and the 15th of February. And the third time it's at 17 degrees on the 4th to the 6th of March. So, this Jupiter, it brings a confidence when it works with Mercury. And it brings an expansion. So, it may possibly allow you to see a new way of doing things, to bring a new perspective on what it is that previously you didn't have insights on. It may open your mind and expand your perception of situations that you may have been grappling with. It may bring you inspiration and innovation and insights, once again, to whatever that area of your chart is that you're working with. So just keeping in mind, it can also be about excess when Mercury and Jupiter come together, especially because Jupiter makes everything so much larger, and so therefore it's really important to be aware of what it is that you write, what it is that you communicate, and how it is that you speak, because it can really make or break a situation, especially, for instance, because it has to do with the internet. If something goes viral, like I said, it can make or break. So it's been really aware of what it is that you're communicating. So it feels like this period is also going to be quite an electric and energized period, which is very much what the Uranus and Aquarius energy is about. What the Aquarius energy is about. It's very electric. It's like a spark of divine intervention, and it's got a lot of energy, but it can also bring a lot of confusion, especially because we do have so many planets in Aquarius. There's a lot of air. It's a lot of thinking, a lot of thought, and so for some of you it may feel quite exhausting. And if that's the case, it's just a period to really slow down and take a break from all this excess energy coming at you, all this excess information. It might be a period to set boundaries to whatever it is that is too much, that is coming at you. And so as I mentioned, with these three retrogrades, or these three conjunctions with Jupiter, it's a potential period to really expand out of how it is that you've previously seen things, and to start working with a new perspective, a bigger picture, new innovative ideas. And as I mentioned, because it's highly excitable energy that we're dealing with, we're probably as a collective going to feel this buzz on the planet, too much excitement, too much energy, a lot of confusion. And so it's really, really important to ground and to breathe, to stay connected to the breath. This is a really, really potent period, especially from February onwards. And so staying grounded, breathing a lot, and remembering to connect to the heart, because it's easy to disassociate from your feelings with all this air energy. And so another aspect of Aquarius, Mercury retrograde in Aquarius, is that Aquarius is a fixed sign, and therefore it doesn't like change. It seeks security and stability in what is familiar. And so therefore you may find that you enter into conversations or experiences with people where because of their fixed point of view, they're not able to slot in with your point of view, and so that flow cannot happen, that flow into something higher cannot happen. And for others, you may feel this intellectual connection where you break through into something higher, into something bigger. Just being wary of where that expansion can happen and where there is also contraction for those who may still be fixed in their ideas or beliefs. And of course the same applies to you, to become aware of where it is that you may be fixed or stuck in your beliefs and not seeing things from a higher perspective or a bigger picture. And again, this is what the beauty of this retrograde is about. It allows us to slow down, because Mercury can be so fast and often we can oversee things And so it allows us to slow down and review where those fixedness aspects of our minds lie, and how it is that we communicate that fixedness, because we are not yet seeing that bigger picture. So, yeah, those are the most important key points that are happening. Mercury interacting with Jupiter, and then of course in February there is the stellium where we have Jupiter, Saturn, the new moon, Venus, the Sun. Have I got all of those? There's 6 planets altogether in Aquarius, and that's not mentioning the fixed stars and dwarf planets that are going to be in there as well. So the Aquarius energy is so fundamentally important for this month. It really is birthing something new. It's really bringing in something for the future, and it has the potential to be such an incredibly potent and inspiring time. So do stay aware of what is going on for you. As I mentioned, what a house Aquarius rules, and if there are any planets in that house, these will be impacted on a personal level for you specifically. And so the retrograde is happening from 11 degrees of Aquarius all the way to 26 degrees, and when it's retrograding back to 11 degrees, and then it goes forward again. It stations direct and it goes forward all the way to 26 degrees. So it's useful to stay posted on how this energy is impacting you, and allowing yourself space and time to really review on what is most important, especially as I mentioned, because there's so much stimulation and energy coming at you. Remember, Aquarius does also rule the internet. It rules social media platforms. It rules phones, technology. So there may be too much stimulation. Mercury rules the mind. Too much stimulation for the mind with all this activity happening in Aquarius. So again, grounding and finding time to breathe and take space, and setting up boundaries with what's too much and what's not enough. So as I always do at the end of each reading, I do a tarot reading, and so that we can explore on a global level what the themes of that transit is. So in this case, it's regarding the Mercury retrograde and how it's going to impact us as a collective. So I've got my cards here, and I'm just giving it a good shuffle on behalf of the collective. This is Mercury retrograde on behalf of the collective. And if you are interested, you can go to the Astromatrix app, and actually you'll find this actual spread with these questions, and you can ask the questions for yourself personally to see how it's going to impact you. So the 4 questions that I'm going to be asking is: where is change mentally wanting to happen? Where am I needing to see things from a higher perspective? What is my future wanting to reveal? And what is Mercury retrograde wanting me to slow down and see? All right. And so the theme of this reading on behalf of the collective is 8 of Cups, walking away from things that no longer emotionally serve us. So the cups rule the emotions, but let's see what more the reading has in store for us and how this correlates to the mind, especially because Mercury rules the mind and communication. So where is change mentally wanting to happen? Where am I needing to see things from a higher perspective? What is my future wanting to reveal? What is Mercury retrograde wanting to see, wanting me to see? Okay. So we do have a lot of swords, and swords rules the mind, it rules air. And so the first question is, and this is all going to tie in together once I get to the end of it. So the first question is, Where is change mentally wanting to happen? And we have the Two of Swords. And the Two of Swords has one or two interpretations. The first one is realizing where it is that we're shutting ourselves off from seeing the truth or from seeing what is in front of us. Realizing how it is that we're crossing ourselves, shutting off our hearts in order to not see what is going on in front of us. So in a way, it's a form of protection. So where is change mentally wanting to happen? It's about starting to choose to see what it is that we're avoiding to see, and to start letting it in. And through letting it in, we can start processing it and allow this change to happen. So it's also a card of stalemate, reaching some kind of a stalemate. So I feel like it's a combination of recognizing what isn't working, but also recognizing what isn't working, and therefore there's some things that we're needing to let go of, that we're needing to walk away from. And then there's some things that we're needing to examine and go deeper into and own it and become accountable for it and evolve and mature from it. So where is change mentally wanting to happen? I feel that it's very much about taking responsibility, accountability, but also maturity and courage. So the next question is, where am I needing to see things from a higher perspective? Okay. And we have the Six of Wands. And so the Six of Wands is a card of success. And I think I feel that this is about, as we walk away from things that no longer emotionally serve us, things that I like to call them holy cows. And the holy cows are the things that we've set up as the panacea for our lives of what we need and what is important, and then realizing that they're not important. And it's this process when the disillusionment happens, and then we see the truth. And so through this process of seeing the truth and walking away from these things that are no longer serving us or no longer really have relevance for our lives, we experience success because we've broken through something. And so where am I needing to see things from a higher perspective is needing to see what brings success into our lives, needing to see what success means, needing to explore the theme of creative expansion and direction, movement forward. So remember, Mercury is the messenger. It's about movement, moving forward, and it carries information. So seeing things from a higher perspective around what has value and meaning in your life, and walking away from the things that no longer do. So the third question is, what is my future wanting to reveal? And we have the Four of Swords. And so the Four of Swords, so it's interesting that this is coming up, because the Four of Swords is about taking time out from the mental fixation or preoccupation with something. It's how it is that we get stuck on something. And it can actually be an argument that you have with someone, as well as a job that's preoccupying too much of your mental space and burning up too much energy. And so your future is wanting you to see how there are things in your life, elements in your life, themes in your life that you are putting too much energy into, that is burning up your energy, that is demanding too much of your mind. And it's your future is wanting to see that it's about taking back that energy and no longer giving your mental energy to those things, but learning to see what those things are. Is it a toxic relationship, or is it a job where you are working overtime? You're just working. So I feel that having the cups over here, and there's something important that needs to be mentioned, because there's so much air in this with Mercury and all these planets in Aquarius. There's so much mental information and stimulation. Like I said, we need to remember to connect to our hearts, and we need to remember to breathe and to connect to our emotions and to what's most important. And so this Four of Swords, our future, is wanting us to realize that some things are really not worth putting all our time and energy into, and that we need to pull that back and take space from it and simplify. So the last question is, what is Mercury retrograde wanting me to see? And it's very clear. It's the Eight of Swords. And the Eight of Swords is a woman that is bound and blindfolded, and she's surrounded by swords, and she's stuck. And so Mercury retrograde is really wanting you to see your stuckness. And so in order to walk away from it, in order to see those holy cows that you think are so important, but actually they're not. They don't really hold value or importance or meaning in your life. And therefore, once you can recognize that they're keeping you in a state of stuckness, you can start moving forward in a new direction. And so we have two images here to do with swords, air, and both have to do with not seeing clearly. Both have to do with stuckness, in a place of stuckness and not moving forward. And Mercury wants to move forward with a new perspective in Aquarius and a higher perspective. And therefore, it's going to shake up and bring perspective on where it is that we're not allowing that flow and that higher perspective to happen because of the stuckness. And once that can happen, we can walk away from the things that no longer have meaning for our lives. So there we go. And it's beautiful, because the card that I have here is the Page of Wands, which is about new possibility, new creative inspiration, new creative hope, new creative magic or possibility. So I hope that shed some light on what this may highlight for you. And we do offer tarot readings and astrology readings. So if you are interested in learning more about what this period may mean for you in your house specifically, then reach out and book a reading through Astro Matrix. Otherwise, if you're still here watching and you enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe, and don't forget to ring the notification bell, as well as leave your comments. We enjoy your comments, and we always like to hear what you have to say. So thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.